Back at it with Unix Guy. Love this dude. He has great advice. Today we're looking at fastest cybersecurity specializations for beginners to get a job. Since he's a GRC guy, I'm going to assume he's going to talk about auditing our GRC. But let's find out.
This is a beginner cybersecurity specialization that is so easy to get into, it's ridiculous. But most people don't even notice it because they're so focused on all the flashy ethical hacking jobs.
So true. Everyone wants to be a hacker. And I get it, right? It's the big, sexy of cybersecurity. Everyone's super into it. But it's not really entry level. You can absolutely do it, but it may not be the first position that you hold within security. It's more advanced.
Or those highly paid senior security analyst roles. So much so that they miss out on what could very well be the fastest way to get your foot in the door in cybersecurity, because this specialization doesn't need any experience, degrees, or certification.
Sounds too good to be true. No experience, degrees, or certifications? Woof. Big promises. Big promises. Let's see if it pays off.
In fact, last week we hired a guy at the company that I worked for to do this very specialization. We can call him Dan. He's 33 years old and he's been working in a warehouse since he finished high school.
This is what I love about cybersecurity, is you can be a warehouse worker and it doesn't matter. It absolutely doesn't matter what your background was. People come from all walks of life. I've had so many co-workers, Lowe's, a chef. I was an English teacher at high school. It honestly doesn't matter. This is what I love about it.
So he doesn't have any degree or experience or any IT knowledge for that matter. Now, before we get into this specialization.
Okay, no IT knowledge either. This is the tough part. Having an IT background super helps in almost every area of security, if not every single area. Even IT auditing, which is my guess on where he's going. But so maybe it's not. Let's find out.
Let me tell you a little bit about Dan. He wanted a career change so bad to improve his lifestyle, his financial situation, and also his health. We will get into that in a moment. But
this is why I also wanted to change. Sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot here, but this is why I wanted to change. I wanted to provide a better life for my wife, for my kid, for my family, so that way my wife could be a stay-at-home mom, which was that was her dream, and I couldn't do that as a teacher. And you don't want to wake up and be miserable and have to go to your job. Now I get to go to my job, and it has made all of the difference. All of my relationships are so much better because I like doing what I do for 8-10 hours a day. I am not miserable. It's super cool, and I get paid better. It's super cool.
But the biggest hurdle that faced him when he was trying to get into cybersecurity is the lack of experience. Companies usually have a laundry list of requirements. They want certifications, they want degrees, they want 5 or even 10 years of.
This is absolutely true. Requirements for security positions are ridiculous. If you meet every checkbox for every requirement, you are way overqualified for that position, and you need to find a more senior role than that one. If you meet even just a couple, 1, 2, 3 of those line items, go for it. Even if you don't meet any of those line items, but you're confident that you can do the job, apply anyway. They're looking for unicorns that do not exist. It is absolutely ridiculous. If you have 5 years of experience, you are not entry level. Unless you're like lazy and not trying and just kind of skating by, in which case you're probably not going to do well in security anyway. Those people tend to be at help desk, level 1 for like 10, 15, 20. They just live at help desk because they have no drive, no motivation to skill up, get certifications, learn, to be curious. They lack that motivation, so they sit at help desk. If you get into security, that's probably not you. So at 5 years of experience, oh my gosh, you unlock so many doors. You are not entry level by any means. This is so ridiculous. GIAC certifications? Are you kidding me? That's $1,000 certification, and the training for it is over $10,000. SANS training is so expensive. CISSP, you need 5 years of security experience to get that certification. It's not entry level. It's not.
experience, and it can be very disheartening for someone who have none of that. But the problem with Dan also is he actually didn't have the finances or even the time to work on degrees or certifications. He works long hours at the warehouse, and by the end of the day he's physically exhausted that he can't bring himself to study or even do a degree part-time. Now Dan told me that he recently injured his low back and he simply couldn't afford to stay any longer in his warehouse job. He really needed that career change, and he wanted something he's passionate about that will improve his life but also improve the life of his family and their financial situation, and something that he could do long term that doesn't influence his physical health. So 3 months ago, the company that I worked at, we advertised for a cybersecurity analyst role similar to the one that I talked about here in this video.
If he's going to say a security analyst is an entry-level role that you can get into without experience or certifications or a degree, we might disagree here, Unix guy. I super agree with almost everything he says, but a security analyst role is kind of a cut above. Like, if a SOC analyst is here, that's to me the true entry-level position. A security analyst is like one step above. They tend to do a little bit more in my book. So let's find out.
The role wasn't very junior, but it wasn't very senior either. So we wanted someone with some cybersecurity skills, but also we wanted someone with a little bit of Splunk knowledge. Now, we got so many applicants and we interviewed them and we looked at Dan's CV, and at the time we knew that he doesn't qualify for the job, but we were curious to see what was.
This to me is insane. The fact that they even looked at his CV, the fact that it got in front of a hiring manager's eyes is crazy. With nothing on it, that's absolutely insane. In my experience, I got no callbacks. I got no traction until I got these CompTIA certs, and then I started getting callbacks. And then, you get entry-level IT experience, and then you start getting recruiters reaching out to you. This is kind of crazy to me. I wouldn't think that this is the norm, but maybe it was just me in my experience. Perhaps, either Dan's special, maybe he's super lucky, or perhaps it's just different in other parts of the world.
Was his intentions and why he wanted to work in this role, knowing that he simply doesn't have the background. And when we interviewed him, we politely let him know that we actually are looking for someone with a little bit of knowledge in Splunk. And to our surprise, he was actually extremely nice and extremely polite and also extremely professional. He was honest about his lack of experience, but he also told us the story of his low back issues and his plans for a career change. And what I really liked about him is that in the interview, he was open and honest, and he asked me on what he can do to improve his chances of landing a job in cybersecurity, whether it's with our company or even a different organization. And
this is super key. Being upfront and honest. People can smell your BS from a mile away. A decent security manager is going to know if you're qualified or not. It's fairly easy to tell if you have the technical expertise, whether you have certifications and degrees or not. They can smell out your BS. Being upfront and honest is key. Even if you don't net the job itself, it sounds like, I'm willing to bet, Unix guy is going to drop some super serious, helpful tips and tricks for Dan to get whatever next position he's going to talk about here. Whatever that true entry-level role is, that, he's just dragging us along on this story, and I'm in it for the ride.
My advice to him was to get involved more in the community, go to events, go to meetup, just meet more people, talk to more people who work in the field and get their advice. And he actually started going to those events, and I know that because a few weeks later, to my surprise, I saw him again in the same company that I work at because we had an event that evening. And I thought
this is low-key one of the absolute best things you can do, because it shows you take initiative. It shows that you're serious. One of the reasons why certifications are great if you have no background in IT is because it shows you have skin in the game, that you are serious about your career change. Everyone can say, oh, I want a career change, or I want a six-figure salary, I want to work in cyber. Anyone can say that, but it's putting the actions to your words. And expensive certifications, like a $500 certification that takes months to study for, time to pass, that shows that you have skin in the game, that you actually care, that you actually want that change in your life. Going to meetups is a free way to show that same ambition, drive, and motivation.
I will never see him because most people just apply for 1 or 2 jobs, and if they get rejected, they get disheartened and they just quit altogether.
You need to apply. I want to say it's somewhere between 100 and 200 jobs, before you actually get a job offer. It's crazy. It's the job market is intense. No one said it was going to be easy. You're going to have to put in that work. Even people with lots of experience and who are hyper qualified, they still apply to dozens and dozens of jobs. That's just what it takes. There's so many applicants. It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game that you can win if you're committed. One or two applications just isn't going to cut it.
But again, he was very polite, very professional, really eager to learn, eager to help. But also at the same time, he was starting to face an even bigger problem. You see, as Dan started going to meetups and events, some of the topics were simply too hard for him. So some of the topics were so technical. They were discussing some sophisticated cyber attacks. They were talking about penetration testing or vulnerability management, or some topics were simply too technical for him. So he doesn't really know what a reverse malware engineering is, for example. And as a beginner and as someone without degree, this has hit his confidence. He felt that he doesn't know enough. He's got even a bigger imposter syndrome. And at some point he thought that
we all have imposter syndrome. All of us. There is someone who is bigger, badder, and knows more than you. There's probably someone out there that could do my job better than me. There's probably lots of people that are way more technical than me, without doubt. And that could easily make you feel like an imposter, but that's okay. Like, you are not an imposter if you are trying, if you're willing to put in the time and the effort and the energy to keep skilling up and keep getting better. We got to combat this, because it's such a plague in our industry to feel like you're never good enough. And you are, and you can be. You got to remember that.
this is just too hard, maybe it's not for him, maybe he's too old for it. Fortunately for Dan, and before he was about to give up, he actually went to an event run by Microsoft, and that event was about phishing. Now, Dan actually had some background in phishing because he himself was a victim of a phishing attack a few years ago. He said that at the time he got his email password stolen, and he actually learned a little bit about what phishing is, and in fact that was what sparked his interest in cybersecurity. So in that event he actually learned that phishing is a specialty within cybersecurity. Some companies need people to just respond to phishing. That area of work, we refer to it as security education awareness.
Interesting. I wouldn't call it security education awareness in terms of phishing, but potentially. Let's back this up for a second. Phishing is real, and it's actually the first skill I ever learned about cybersecurity. I was working at entry-level IT, kind of doing some network monitoring, and they taught me, because I was working off hours, to look at phishing emails, to look at emails and determine whether or not are they malicious, are they just spam, are they actually legitimate. And that is a super beginner, absolutely necessary, level 1, learn it right now, as soon as you can, to know that skill. But in terms of security education awareness or security awareness training, it goes by lots of names. That is going to be more than just phishing. A huge part of it is phishing, but it's teaching users to not click links, don't open emails that you don't know who they're from, don't download attachments from people you don't know who they're from, and you can't say it in the way that I just did because no one wants to listen to it. When you're screaming at them, when you're yelling at them, when you're pointing fingers at them, there's an art and a science to teaching people, to training people, to get them to come alongside and not destroy your organization. Because the number one cyber attack is through email. It's like 90% of all cyber attacks begin through email compromise, account takeovers. Training your users is a big part of that. So this is actually a great tip. Let's hear a little bit more.
Or security culture in some companies, or even security influencer. That role consists of a group of individuals who launch simulated phishing campaigns, or sometimes contribute to knowledge-based articles on the internet, or sometimes they do user training or lunch and learn sessions. Now, this is something that Dan.
So let's expand on what this actually entails a little bit more. He said it, and all of those are true. A big portion is being like an influencer within your organization, in terms of everyone needs to be cyber aware. Your users are the number one risk factor of any company, because if they do things that are not safe, none of your security protocols can protect users who take down your security protections, right? If they uninstall your antivirus, if they give away their password, if they're downloading malware, all of your protections kind of go out the window, right? If you disable links and they're they're going into a VM, or they ask someone to re-enable it, or whatever the case may be. Users can get around, your own users who have access to systems and sensitive information can get around our security controls. So training them can involve, one, in terms of being an influencer, creating articles on, say, SharePoint. It's like a internal Facebook type page for the company. People actually do read those. Believe it or not, they actually read those. Videos, which you don't necessarily have to create yourself. These are videos, he was showing Mimecast. This is a company that, yeah, you pay for their services. They do email protection, but they also have really short, cool videos. They're about 2 minutes long, and they just show users funny scenarios on what not to do, what not to click, how to be safe. Lunch and Learns typically are company-provided meetings during lunch where they provide lunch, and it's just a meeting where someone stands up and talks about the different ways to have healthy digital hygiene, right? To be cyber secure within the company, and that could absolutely be you. It can also involve creating videos yourself, posting those online, as well as one thing he didn't mention is putting out fake phishing emails to test your users. So again, through Mimecast, this is a service that they offer. It will just be like for instance, a fake UPS page saying, hey, your package just arrived. Click this link to confirm that you received it or whatever. And it takes you to a fake Microsoft login portal. How many users are going to click that? Or maybe one that says, hey, here's Timothy's raise for the year. So check it out, right? Who doesn't want to know what Timothy makes? So many people are interested in knowing how much money their coworkers make. They're going to click that link. They're going to input their credentials. And that's why we test them. So testing our users, and then we know who we can target for more training, and that might just be a live in-person event, either a lunch and learn or maybe just a phone call on Teams. So absolutely something you can do with little technical knowledge in all of the other security domains. Super agree with Linux guy. This is a great entry-level position.
Can definitely do, and he's mature enough and he conducts himself really well. And to Dan's luck, the team that I work in was expanding and we needed someone to do just that, which is tricky because a lot of people simply don't want to do this job. They can view it as something that's boring, repetitive. They want to do all these flashy ethical hacking jobs or forensic jobs. But Dan was actually mature enough. His age and his life experience taught him that this kind of role is something that's valuable. It can get his foot in the door, but
super true, where if you were like me, you're in your 30s and you're trying to career transition, hopefully you're mature enough, you have some experience, some knowledge, some work history, some understanding that getting your foot in the door is a huge deal. It is a huge deal because you can accelerate your career, you can explode, you can skyrocket within 2 years of me being entry-level IT. No, within 10 months of entry-level IT, I was a security analyst. With under 2 years, I became a level 2 analyst. And now I'll probably be a senior analyst within the next few months here. It's just, you can explode your growth. And having that maturity is an asset. You are not too old. If you're in your 40s, if you're in your 50s, that experience and knowledge that you have from your previous work history is an actual asset.
Can also change his financial and health situation. And he was one of the first people that we called to interview for this role, and I was so happy that he got it. And in the interview, he expressed his desire to learn a little bit of ethical hacking, a little bit of forensic, and we are very supportive. So I told him now that he got his foot in the door in cybersecurity, he can definitely do that, whether it's during working hours or even after work, because he will no longer be tired. And the most important thing that he continuously displayed was politeness, humbleness. He was very humble, down to earth, and also always willing to learn, and was so honest about his lack of knowledge in IT. Now, if you are a beginner or someone who doesn't have any degree or any IT knowledge and you're just curious about cybersecurity and you're wondering where to start, in this video I created a step-by-step plan for you.
There it is. I knew it. Right up there. GRC stands for Governance, Risk, and Compliance, which I really thought he was going to say. Think of like auditing IT systems to ensure that the security controls you think are in place, the protections you think you have in place to keep your company secure are actually in place. It's all about going into programs and making sure literally that certain check boxes are checked. Oftentimes it just boils down to getting screenshots to confirm the controls are actually working, and sometimes you might test those controls. But that's honestly what I thought he was going to say as this entry-level beginner role, because it can be true. Auditing can also be another non-technical pathway to get straight into security.
For someone who doesn't have a degree and doesn't have any IT background, this will get you started in cybersecurity, and from there you can learn and grow and choose a specialization, whether it's education and awareness or any other specialization. I'll see you there.
Can never pause it in time. One day I'll get good. Unix guy dropping fire knowledge. It's so good. Check out his channel. I'll put the link for this video, for his video, in the description below. Go check it out. Give him a sub, give him a like. Like, he's just so good. He's so helpful. Absolutely love it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one.